What's good, everybody? Just gonna give you a quick recap of Anthony Joshua and Jermaine Franklin. I'm sure most of you already know how I feel about the fight because I was just covering it live. All right, and a good amount of you were here. Shout out to everyone that came through too for the live commentary. Had a good time. Card was kind of not no real great fights on the card to be honest, but let's talk about this fight. All right, and I'm gonna be try to be as fair as I could be. Because I know we all have our expectations, but I'm gonna try to be as fair as possible looking into this fight and reviewing this fight. Okay. So Anthony Joshua, he wins unanimous decision against Jermaine Franklin. I think one of the judges gave 2 rounds to Franklin. The other two gave 3 rounds to Franklin. I personally thought there was one clear round for Franklin for me. I think there was 2 swing rounds that I gave to AJ. Okay. So I have no dispute with the card or anything like that. It wasn't really that competitive of a fight. Yes, there was a lot of holding and hugging in the fight. There was. From both ends, not just with AJ, but also from Jermaine Franklin. All right. Now, if you didn't know, AJ came in at his heaviest that he's ever been. All right. The last time he weighed this around this weight is when he fought Carlos Takam in a fight where he did not look so good. Right. This is one of the fights where he got a lot of criticism. I think this is probably one of the first fights he received a lot of criticism because he gassed in the fight. He was slow in the fight. And plus, many people believe that the stoppage was premature. So him getting with Derrick James, this is his first time working with Derrick James. He flew out to Texas to prepare for this fight. He was in camp in Texas. And a lot of us was just assuming that he was going to go into this fight and be on destroy mode, all right? Jermaine Franklin, on the other hand, was in the best shape that we've seen him in a while. Definitely much better shape than he was in Dillian White fight. Seemed to be very confident going into the fight. And he seemed to be fired up, to be honest. He seemed like he was ready for the moment, and he had some. What I think before, might as well get Jermaine Franklin out the way. Jermaine Franklin showed us how durable he really is. I think White, who that fight was an even fight in my opinion. White actually hurt Jermaine Franklin in the last round more than Joshua hurt him at any point in this fight. Right? Even though Joshua landed some big shots, he continuously landed right hands from the outside. He continuously landed uppercuts on the inside. I mean, AJ on the inside and out was beating Jermaine Franklin. Okay? Franklin showed to be tough. Offensively, he didn't do much. He landed some good shots from the outside. I think he was able to at least, he bloodied AJ's nose pretty bad as early as the first round. I don't know if it was actually broken, but you can tell for a few rounds that it was hurting AJ. Kind of reminded me of the Povetkin fight, right? But outside of that, Franklin was never really consistent. Offensively, he didn't have enough. Like I said, even on the inside, the area where I thought he was going to be in control, give us a little bit of what we saw Andy Ruiz do. He wasn't really able to do it because the amount of clinching that was involved in this fight. It's from AJ. AJ definitely was much bigger, much taller, was able to lean on him to wrap him up, constantly wrap up his arms, wrapped up his head, wrapped him up. But it got to a point where Franklin was just lunging in and tying up too. They both was tying up, So Franklin offensively didn't do too much. He did take a lot of big power shots from AJ, shots that he's knocked other fighters out. Brazil, Povetkin, Charles Martin, all these guys, he's knocked out these guys out with the same shots and wasn't able to put Jermaine Franklin down. I think the only time I felt that Jermaine Franklin was hurt, it was by a left hook to the body he caught like maybe in the 11th or 12th round. It was late in the fight. I think that was one of the best shots that AJ landed. AJ landed only like 3 or 4 of them throughout the fight though. And every time he landed it, it looked like it hurt. But We didn't get much of it from AJ, okay? But overall, Jermaine Franklin is going to always get fights. You know, he's going to be like how Eric Molina is. He's always going to get fights. You know, he's still sharp. He's still good. He's back in shape. And people are going to want to test themselves against him now that AJ went to distance with him and Dillian White went to distance with him. You know what I'm saying? So Franklin is always going to get fights. And what he's shown us is that he's, at the very least, he's durable. Okay? Now, Anthony Joshua. Let's start out with the good. AJ, his arsenal was on point. We seen some nice hooks. We seen some nice right hand counters. All right. I like this jab. There were certain rounds he was probing. I liked it. I liked the feints. You know, he was changing levels here and there. Excuse me. I even like what he was able to do on the inside. I feel like he beat Jermaine Franklin on the inside, which was surprising to me. I think he was consistent, but there was no real killer instinct in the fight. I thought the 10th round was his best round. I felt like that was the round that I was waiting for. I think there was one other round earlier in the fight where I thought AJ really, maybe it was the 5th round. I felt like that was AJ's best round. I think half of that round, he was the aggressor that I was looking for. But the 10th round was the only round that I felt like AJ brought the pace and the aggression that I was looking for all fight long. All right. Now, he wasn't able to drop Franklin or nothing like that, but at least he was landing. He was throwing the shots that I was looking for. All right. As far as improvements, though, anything that I've seen any different, well, he learned how to protect himself on the inside. You know, all those slick, tricky tactics that vets do, Klitschko, Fury, all these guys that know how to lean on their opponents and tie up and protect themselves on the inside, he did that extremely well. Now, it made it a boring fight because there was a lot of holding, you know, but he clearly knows how to do that now. You know what I'm saying? At better than I've seen him do it before. All right? A lot of it, especially in the earlier rounds, he initiated it. But it got to a point where the both of them were doing it a lot often. And a lot of some rounds, we got 2 minutes of certain rounds of that. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about the bad. The bad is, with all the extra weight that you put on, I don't see what you used it for. Because you're already naturally bigger than Jermaine Franklin. Now, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, maybe Derrick James want him to be bigger and learn how to be quicker and have better stamina as a bigger man naturally. You know, you're already naturally a bigger man, so maybe you just need to work on fighting at a high pace for 12 rounds at that size. You know, trying to have that same speed and power at the same size. Okay? But the problem is, AJ, mentally, you might prepare and train as a big man. All right? You might, whatever Derrick told you to do, you might actually prepare for that. Right? And you might go into the fight like, yo, this is what I got to do. But mentally, he seems to keep thinking too much. You can see his thoughts in his head as he's fighting. He's too hesitant. There was too many times where he's looking over into his corner for instructions. He's looking over. Like he's looking, like not listening, but looking over like, what do I do now? You know, type of thing. AJ is too experienced to still be doing that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're too experienced, man. This is a fight at the end of the day. If Derrick is not in your corner, you got to do what you got to do. You're 33 years old. You're a 2-time unified champion. At this point, I feel like AJ should still know what he needs to do. You know? And I think the overthinking has to do with some of the things he's been through. You know what I'm saying? Like the Andy Ruiz loss, or, you know, getting dropped by Klitschko in that fight. He's still somewhat hesitant. And when he's hesitant, it makes him look robotic. It makes him look like He has to think out whatever he does instead of doing it naturally. Now, this has always has been a criticism of him. But at this stage, he's reaching towards, the end of his career. So this is who you are. And my breakdown, it wasn't a technical breakdown. It was more of a breakdown of his career, how he got to where he's at, and what we're looking for. I expected a knockout. I definitely expected a knockout. You guys heard me. I expected him to be aggressive. I expected him to bring some of that old school AJ back. I expected Derrick James to prepare him for that. And that's it. I didn't expect much change. I didn't expect him to do things differently. We seen that already. We saw that in a rematch with Andy Ruiz. We see him be quicker and bouncing off the tip of his toes and stuff. We've seen that already. That's done. We passed that. Now he's heavy again. So I'm thinking he's heavy. He's going to be a beast. No. He still stayed outside of range, used his jab, kept, for the most part, kept Franklin on the end of his jab and stepped in when he wanted to do it. I mean, he did that. He's not doing anything wrong. He's not doing anything wrong. It's just that as an elite heavyweight and a two-time champion, we expected more. Because we seen what you were able to do against better fighters at one point. Like I said, he's landed the shots that I've seen him land and knock some of these guys out. But it didn't work for this fight. You know what I mean? When it comes to conditioning, I'm not sure because I think he paced himself. Like, now that I think about it, there was rounds that I felt like he clearly took off and tied up. And there were rounds where I felt like he was being aggressive, right? My problem is, if you fight a fighter like Joe Joyce, it's not going to work. Like, I don't think what he did tonight works well with Joe Joyce. Anyone that's going to minister, and I don't want to say anyone. I'm just going to keep it at Joyce because Joyce is the only name right now out of all those top dudes that I felt like is not going to he's not going to allow Anthony Joshua. He's not going to give him the time to think because at the bare minimum, Joyce is going to be walking for throwing that weird hammer jab that he throws. At bare minimum, you got to deal with that. You don't have no time to think and hesitate in that fight. You know what I'm saying? You have to bust a move real quick. All right? Wilder. We already know the dangers of Wilder. The right hand. You know what I'm saying? He can clip you. While you're punching, he can clip you. He can use his speed. Wilder, I wouldn't expect Wilder to come in heavy again. Yeah, his punch resistance will be gone, but the hand speed will be quick. He's just going to be looking for the opportunity to line you up. And he doesn't have to be nearly as close as Jermaine Franklin do. You know what I'm saying? All that overthinking, all that robotic movement because you're overthinking. And it's not it's not constant. You can tell when he's doing it and you can tell when he's not. But a lot of it is because of confidence. Or a lot of it possibly has to do with, maybe conditioning or whatever. Maybe he's taking a round off, so he wants to take the round off. There's going to be fights where you can't take the round off because your opponent is going to press you. And that line, like leaning and tying up, it's not going to work against everybody because all these other guys are your size or bigger. Fury, Joyce, and Wilder. They don't need to get so close to hit you. You might have to be the guy coming forward. You know what I'm saying? So the bad overall, I didn't like all the jabbering and all the talking in between the rounds, turning back, acting like you want to fight. But while the fight is going in between the rounds, you're not nearly as aggressive. I hated that he hit him in the back of the head. I know he was just playing, but yo, bro, the fight is over. Shake it out, give each other a hug, give each other respect. Don't be playing like that. I wouldn't like that. I don't think anybody would like that. You wouldn't like it neither. You walking away, dude hits you in the back of the head. Like, bro, the fight is over. You had all fight long, all night long to be aggressive. Stop it now, because now we getting 2 fights in a row. No, this is not. This is not what you did with Usyk. All right, it wasn't a big deal. And even when he turned around, I don't think AJ really wanted it to go anywhere. But when Franklin stood up for herself, like, yo, why you touch me? Now y'all getting into it and y'all risking a whole brawl over nothing. You had 12 rounds to get it in. Don't wait until after the fight is over to be like, yo, I don't like that shit. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like it. But overall, again, AJ did not do bad. But what AJ showed me is he is who he is. And that's what I said in my breakdown. Whether it's a mental thing, whether it's a conditioning thing, AJ is who he is. This is AJ. So we can't keep talking about what he got to do, what he got to do, what he got to do, what he got to do. Yes, we can suggest certain things. Yes, there's certain things and certain tactics you can have. But at the end of the day, AJ is who he is. And for him to bulk up, I didn't see the reason behind it. You could have did this slimmer, especially if you're looking to control the distance and stay on the outside and keep him on the end of your jab and throw right hands. You could have did that better when you were, slim fighting Usyk. Because I like the way you was doing it there, even with the losses. Usyk was too hard to hit because he's moving too much. He's staying off the line. He's a southpaw. He's moving and running around all over the place. It's a different kind of fight. Jermaine Franklin is right in front of you, bro. So if you're trying to look and move and control the distance, stay light if that's what you're going for. But if you're going to put on the pounds, I'm thinking you're going to put your hands on this dude. More than that. And he didn't. So, again, it's not a bad performance. It's just that we expected more because we know what you're capable of. And I feel you got with the right coach. Maybe you do need another camp with him. Maybe you do, but I feel like at this point in your career, comparing to Jamel Charlo, which is what I did, you're 33. Jamel Charlo got with Derrick James probably when he was like 26, 27 years old. You know what I'm saying? It was a difference. It's a difference. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, yes, he can still learn and improve. I'm not saying like you can never stop learning the game. But as far as actually putting it in place in the ring, it just seems like he has to think. He has to think. And there are fighters that he's more talented in, but they don't have to think so much. They do. They know the assignment. They know what they're capable of doing, which is Anthony Joshua seems to be still unsure of what to do in certain situations. And with all that talent, it takes away from your talent. Because you have to still think about things before you do it. But every round is not like that. Some rounds he just like, all right, get it up. Maybe he just have a lot of anxiety. I don't know. It might be that. All right, but I just want him to get the big fights, and I know they're probably gonna put him with Dillian White and have that rematch, so he could have more time to be prepared with Derrick James, and he can have another camp. I mean, if he is gonna truly do 3 fights. I can see from the promoters and as far as making money and protecting your investment, I can see why they would do it, right? Putting them in there with Dillian White for a second time, making their money, and giving him more of an opportunity to train and prepare for the next big fight. But like I said on live, if there is an opportunity to fight Tyson Fury, a real one, as we know how Fury moves, all right? So I'm not blaming AJ for that. If there's a real opportunity to fight Tyson Fury, if there's a real opportunity to fight Deontay Wilder, take it. Joyce, I'm not even going to bring him up because I don't think that's a real fight. That's not a real risk that Eddie's going to take because that is a win-win for Joyce. Because even if he loses, you know what I'm saying? It's like you lost to Anthony Joshua. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a step up for him. But AJ losing to Joyce, it would probably be a beating from someone that's not with Matchroom and not want someone that is a champion, you know? And it's not even a bigger fight than Fury and Wilder. So I personally think if there's a window to fight Wilder or Fury right now, go for it. You know? All of us might be overreacting. Maybe Jermaine Franklin is just tougher than what we thought he was. Clearly he is. But, you know, how does he does against Fury? How does he do against Wilder? You know what? Regardless of how he performs at this point, I still want to see it. And nothing's going to change that. I still want to see it. You know, styles make fight at the end of the day. They make fights, and I still want to see it. I want to see Fury and Joshua. How he looks against Fury. How he looks against Wilder. If they both knock him out, then cool. But there's always that risk of them getting knocked out. I know Franklin went to 12, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Joshua has power. All right? And Fury's been down and Wilder's been down. You know what I'm saying? Franklin, I don't believe Franklin's ever been down, but he ain't fight the guys on the same level. But, you know, Fury's been down on not the top tier guys too. So with that being said, that's all I'm wishing for. Great, you know, good win, good comeback win for AJ. I'm still unsure if the extra weight is beneficial for him right now. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he improves in the next fight, you know? If he does fight Dillian White, and I know I called a knockout here and I was wrong, but if he fights Dillian White in a rematch, I expect him to knock Dillian White out. Because I don't think Dillian White is improving. You know, I still think AJ is elite. All right. And I think Dillian White is not at the best pace in his career right now. You know, so if he's going to get back in there with another elite heavyweight, chances are he's going to lose. You know, but being Dillian White and possibly stopping him, you know, what is that going to mean? I honestly think for AJ at this point, it's a glorified tune-up. Because we already know what AJ can do against Dillian White. We already seen it. And I don't feel like Dillian White is improving at this point. I think he's already past his prime. You know? Just my opinion. I think AJ is still right at wherever his... I don't think he's improving at this point. I think he is who he is. I don't think he's worse. I don't think he's better. I just feel like the flaws he had that we always been criticizing him for are still there. You know, he's leveled out a few things a little better. He ironed out a few things, but he's still overthinking in the ring and being hesitant. It doesn't matter how talented you or I or whoever thinks he is. If you're hesitant in the ring, that makes you a liability. You know, because you're letting a guy that's not as talented get off on you because he's not thinking. He's just fighting. You're thinking. He's fighting. All right? Anyway. Yeah, that's it. I'm probably going to be on later. I might get on. Now I'm like, because, you know, going on for these hours is a lot. So I might get on for the Robesi Ramirez Isaac Dope fight. All right, but good to see AJ back as a win. You know, to be honest, I was more impressed with the loss to Usyk in a rematch than I was in the win in this fight. Just my opinion. All right, I was more impressive in the rematch loss than the win here. You know. So anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Please subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, share the video, and I'm out.